The moment the alien called him a pathetic Earth soldier, Jack Atlas Morgan knew two things instantly. 1. This overgrown lizard in sparkly armor definitely did not understand sarcasm. And 2. If Earth ever found out he lost the fight to Space Godzilla, he would die of embarrassment long before any alien invasion finished the job. Jack had always been the kind of guy who grinned at danger even when danger grinned back with fangs. That attitude was both why he was almost a Green Beret and why his instructors kept yelling Morgan stop laughing while under simulated artillery fire. But right now, he was not laughing. He was trying to remember how breathing worked, because he had just woken up strapped to a metal slab aboard what he prayed was a very immersive training exercise. His ears rang, his stomach flipped, and the ceiling above him glowed like a nightclub owned by a mad scientist. His last memory on Earth was simple. Nightland navigation training. Pine trees, cold air, mud, mosquitoes the size of helicopters. Then a beam of blue light had swallowed him. He had yelled something very brave and very military sounding which unfortunately came out like a startled duck. Now he was in space. Probably. Hopefully. Because if this was still North Carolina, then the government seriously needed to rethink their interior decorating choices. A loud hiss snapped his attention forward. The slab released, dropping him unceremoniously to the floor. He landed on his elbows and groaned. His captors clearly had not read the rules about handling potential prisoners of war. Someone would hear about this. Probably his diary. Standing in front of him was the ugliest motivational poster ever created. Nearly 9 feet tall, armored like a walking battleship, with scales that shimmered cruelly. The alien's eyes burned with arrogant amusement. It held a massive energy spear that hummed like an angry beehive ready to make him its special project. "Welcome to the Karun Arena," the creature announced, voice amplified by some translation tech. "You, human, have been deemed unworthy of galactic life. Pathetic. Weak. Earth soldier." Jack pushed himself up, spitting grime from his mouth. He wanted to argue about Earth being a solid B+ habitat on good days, but the alien kept talking. "You have been selected as the test subject for our newest entertainment. We will witness your last moments as you flail and whimper. The crowd enjoys a spirited death." Jack squinted past the brute and saw rows upon rows of aliens of every shape and color behind force fields. They cheered. Some waved snacks that looked suspiciously like tentacles. A hologram flashed above the arena floor displaying a countdown labeled Earth Extermination in bright red digits. 72 hours. His brain processed that. Then threw the data out the window. Then ran downstairs to pick it back up and stared in horror. Extermination. Earth. 72 hours. Him. Alone. In space. He took a slow breath, nostrils flaring as adrenaline lit up every nerve. He had trained for chaos, danger, and impossible odds. Sure, those odds never included space gladiators or planets scheduled for deletion, but hey, adaptability was part of the Special Forces package. Jack raised a finger. Just one question. Is there any chance this is all actually a very expensive escape room and I signed the wrong waiver? The alien stared. Clearly its translator chip had no sarcasm module. The arena laughed. Jack felt heat rise behind his ribs. Not fear. Something sharper. These jerks thought Earth was weak. They thought he was weak. They had no idea how humans operated. They had never seen a species whose entire evolutionary success came from refusing to die when they absolutely should have. He cracked his neck, rolled his shoulders, and forced a grin. Pathetic Earth soldier, huh? Name is Jack Morgan. Friends call me Atlas. Because I carry heavy things without whining about it. I don't suppose we could reschedule this whole death thing after I get some breakfast. The giant alien bristled, armor plates rattling. The audience hissed and jeered. Insult detected. Human humor registered as defiance. You will be crushed until your planet begs. I am General Zorthag. I have conquered worlds with warriors far more evolved than you. Well, good news, Jack said, spreading his arms. I am evolving every minute. Mostly emotionally. but sometimes physically if I drink protein shakes. Zorthag lifted his spear like a judge delivering a sentence. Challenge accepted. Your death will be broadcast to the galaxy. Let all species observe the end of human arrogance. Jack looked up one more time at the flashing countdown. 72 hours until Earth was erased like a bad doodle on a cosmic chalkboard. No pressure. He needed a plan, weapons, allies, and a miracle that did not involve waking up back on Earth with his bunkmate laughing at him for sleepwalking into a porta-potty again. A shimmering barrier dropped around them. The arena floor cracked apart, revealing a maze of metallic walls forming a shifting battlefield. A siren howled. Zorthag charged with enough force to make the ground tremble. Jack reacted without thinking. Years of drills kicked in. He sprinted for cover, heart thundering. A spear blast vaporized a chunk of wall inches behind him. Heat scorched his back. He rolled into a corridor, gasping, but smiling despite himself. He was terrified. But he was alive. And being alive meant he still had a chance to punch destiny in the throat. He peeked around the corner. Zorthag was methodically smashing through obstacles, roaring like a freight train full of angry bears. Jack scanned the arena. No obvious exits. No weapons beyond debris and whatever tools the arena spawned. His hands closed around a broken metal rod. Heavy. Solid. Ugly. Perfect. He whispered under his breath. Adapt, improvise, overcome. Words drilled into his skull from day one of training. Zorthag burst through the wall, swinging. Jack dodged, barely. The spear carved a molten scar in the floor. Jack thrust the rod at a joint in the armor. Sparks. A grunt. Not much damage, but enough to prove something. You can bleed, he muttered. The general laughed. You cannot harm me, human. But your struggle is amusing. Jack circled, mind racing. He needed to do more than amuse. He needed to win. Earth depended on one loudmouthed trainee who had never even graduated. His lungs burned. Sweat dripped. But then a strange sensation rose inside him. Not despair. Something brighter. Fiercer. Humans evolved under pressure. Now he was feeling that evolution. Zorthag lunged again. This time Jack didn't run. He slid under the alien, sprung upward, and smashed the rod into the back of the general's knee. Armor cracked. The giant stumbled. The crowd gasped. Zorthag roared. Jack felt that flame again, and he fed it oxygen with a defiant laugh. Pathetic Earth soldier. Sure. But I am your problem now. The countdown to Earth's extermination blinked above them in ominous red numbers. 71 hours and 56 minutes. Jack pressed his back against one of the metallic walls of the maze, breathing hard and trying desperately not to think about the fact that he had just picked a fight with a 9-foot alien warlord for the fate of Earth. Zorthag was stomping somewhere behind him, every step making the floor plates shudder. Jack needed to stay mobile, unpredictable, and alive long enough to figure out how to stop that extermination countdown glaring above like a cosmic doomsday clock. 71 hours and 55 minutes now. Great. Time management had never been his strongest subject. The maze wall beside him suddenly glowed and then dissolved into nothing, clearly deciding walls were a suggestion, not a rule. Jack yelped and dove to the side as Zorthag barreled through with brute enthusiasm. The alien's armor clanked and his spear hissed as he swept it across the corridor, barely missing taking Jack's head off. Jack scrambled away, sliding into another twisting hallway. He needed an opening. Any opening. And maybe a giant candy bar to replace all the calories he was burning screaming on the inside. He rounded a corner and paused. There was a maintenance hatch, slightly ajar, just big enough for a human-sized idiot to squeeze through. With a quick glance behind to make sure Zorthag hadn't turned into a silent ninja monster, Jack shoved himself into the dark space and used his foot to pull the panel shut. He held his breath, body shaking. Outside, Zorthag's heavy footsteps clanged past, spear scraping against metal as he growled in frustration. Jack waited until the sounds faded. Then he exhaled slowly and tried to figure out where he had ended up. The cramped space smelled like burned rubber and alien sweat. Flickering lights ran along the ceiling. He could hear mechanical hums and vents cycling air. A maintenance tunnel. That meant technology. Technology meant sabotage. Sabotage meant buying Earth more time. He crawled forward until the tunnel widened into a tiny room filled with panels, wires, and a floating drone that looked like a shiny toaster with anxiety issues. The drone beeped in terror, dropping its tools and trying to hide behind a coil of tubing. Jack blinked. The little robot seemed as scared of him as he was confused by it. Hey, easy, Jack whispered, raising his hands in what he hoped was a universal symbol for don't taste me, bro. I am not here to take your lunch money. I'm Jack. Human. Prisoner. Potentially Earth's least prepared hero. The drone emitted a series of warbling squeaks. A translator orb on the wall lit up and converted the sounds into speech. Do not vaporize Flibbit, please. Flibbit is small. Flibbit is fragile. Flibbit is behind on emotional therapy sessions. Jack almost laughed out loud. Of course he would meet the one alien who was a nervous wreck. He knelt closer. Relax, buddy. Vaporizing is not on my to-do list today. I need help. Earth is about to get blasted, and your boss out there thinks I am a joke. Flibbit peeked out, metallic eyes wide. You fought Zorthag and survived longer than predicted. That is statistically insane. Humans are supposed to fall down and cry by now. Jack shrugged. Yeah, well, I am stubborn. Also, the crying part is on hold until I am not busy dodging death lasers. Flibbit floated uneasily, nudged a hovering panel, and projected a hologram of the station. A massive cannon jutted from its underside, aimed at a rotating model of Earth like a hunter lining up a deer. The exterminator device is nearly charged. Zorthag wants to show the galaxy that conquering Earth is effortless. He hates unpredictability. Jack pointed to the weapon in the projection. So we break that thing. Flibbit twitched. Zorthag will peel our limbs like fruit. Jack leaned forward, eyes fierce. What's scarier to you, Flibbit? Zorthag being mad or an entire planet dying, including millions of potential customers for whatever alien streaming service broadcasts this arena show? Flibbit paused. Logic circuits processed. Terror processed. Then, surprisingly, resolve processed. Flibbit drifted closer and lowered his voice as if walls had ears. Flibbit knows weak points. Flibbit does not like genocide. Flibbit will assist. But sabotage must be quiet. Zorthag sees everything in arena. Jack grinned. Quiet is my middle name. Well, actually, it's Daniel. But quiet is a thing I can sometimes do. Together they crawled deeper through the tunnels. Jack learned that Karun technology relied heavily on power conduits that were dangerously explosive if overloaded. Perfect. He also learned that Flibbit was terrified of loud noises, authority figures, small spaces, large spaces, open doors, closed doors, and most living things. Less perfect. But at least Jack could count on him to not betray humanity. Mostly out of fear. They reached a chamber that looked like the guts of a starship had spilled open. Thick cables pulsed with energy. At the center stood a control pillar surrounded by holographic displays. Jack understood none of it. Flibbit, however, zipped over and tapped symbols rapidly. We can reroute power and cause weapon to malfunction, Flibbit explained. It will delay firing. But Zorthag will notice. Buy me some time, Jack said. I will find a way to stop this permanently. Alarms suddenly blared. The floor lights turned crimson. The arena maze walls reset, dissolving into flat ground again. Zorthag's deep voice thundered through speakers. Human. Hiding is over. Die with dignity. Flibbit squealed and sped up his hacking. Jack grimaced and grabbed a pipe wrench that had been forgotten on a bench. Not ideal. But it was heavy enough to make a point. Jack whispered to his new friend. Once you do it, hide. And if you see me die out there, at least clap really loud so it looks like I had fans. Flibbit beeped mournfully. Flibbit does not want you to die. You are statistically amusing. Jack snorted. High praise. He slid back into the arena floor just as Zorthag smashed through a wall panel nearby. The general spotted him instantly and pointed his spear with triumph. Run no longer. Face your failure. Jack rolled his shoulders, raised the wrench, and smirked. Sorry, big guy. I was busy rearranging your stuff. Might want to check your planet exploding machine. The one I unplugged. Zorthag hesitated. Then the ground trembled as power surged violently through the station. The countdown flickered. 71 hours and 47 minutes. Then reset to a new time. 90 hours. Jack breathed a sigh. Good. Buying time. Now he just had to live long enough to use it. Zorthag roared in fury and charged. Jack ducked and weaved, using everything he had learned in training plus a lot of dumb luck. He slammed the wrench into armor, bounced off walls, took hits that rattled bones, and refused to surrender. Because humans did not go extinct. They fought. They improvised. They annoyed their enemies to death if necessary. He slid under Zorthag again and swung upward, denting the armor further. Zorthag snarled and landed a backhand that sent Jack sprawling. His ribs screamed. His head spun. He tasted blood. The general loomed over him, spear tip aimed at his heart. Enough. Earth is nothing. You are nothing. You die now. Jack blinked through the dizziness and smiled with bloody teeth. Yeah, well, even if I die, I already ruined your schedule. And trust me, Earth loves a comeback story. Before Zorthag could strike, the arena floor buckled from the unstable power surge. Debris fell. Sparks flew. The distraction gave Jack just enough time to roll away and scramble back into a tunnel. Jack slumped against a curving wall deep within the station's innards, clutching his side as sharp pain pulsed with every breath. His ribs felt like a handful of angry xylophone keys. Flibbit hovered anxiously nearby, wringing its little mechanical limbs as if attempting to twist the fear out of them. Jack stared upward, watching flickers of sparks dance across the power conduits they had tampered with earlier. The sabotage was working for now. Earth's countdown had reset, buying precious hours, but he knew Zorthag would find another way to push that doomsday weapon to full charge. A delay was survival, not victory. Flibbit finally spoke in a trembling electronic voice. Zorthag is furious. He blames the engineers. Flibbit fears punitive deconstruction. That is like being fired but with fewer parts afterwards. Jack managed a weak grin despite the pain. We just have to avoid him long enough to come up with a plan B. Or C. Or maybe plan H for hold on and hope this works. Flibbit bobbed closer and held up a small scanning device to Jack's chest. The screen projected an image of cracked bones and internal bruising. The damage is moderate. Humans are surprisingly durable. You are like cockroaches with jokes. Jack snorted. That is going on my next resume. The little drone beeped as it sealed Jack's wounds with a gel that burned like liquid wasabi. Jack gritted his teeth until the fire dulled into a throb. He forced himself to stand. His head spun for a second, but he set his jaw and shook it away. He had no time for brokenness. We need information, he said. If I am going to beat Zorthag, I need to know what he is terrified of. Flibbit blinked. Zorthag fears very little. Except losing. Losing is unacceptable. That is why he hates humans. Humans do not follow projections. Humans turn failure into victory. Zorthag calls it chaos evolution. Jack frowned. Chaos evolution, that sounded familiar in a weirdly scientific way. What does that mean? Flibbit motioned for him to follow, and led him down another tunnel. They reached a side chamber filled with transparent cylinders, each displaying swirling holographic simulations. Flibbit activated one. It showed a muscular alien warrior fighting something small and human-shaped. The alien crushed its opponent within seconds. The simulation ended with red text, outcome predicted. Earth resistance negligible. Probability of unexpected adaptation, variable. Flibbit buzzed nervously. Karun scientists have studied humans from afar. They see you as primitive. Physically weak compared to most species. But every time simulations assume human behavior, results shift. Humans are unpredictable, emotional, irrational, and that irrationality changes outcomes. Jack watched the hologram reset. The human figure learned to dodge sooner. It improvised. It fought smarter. Every round it lasted longer, forced new possibilities. It refused to lose the same way twice. Flibbit pointed at the data stream scrolling above. Humans adapt to threats faster than most species. Under stress, your brain rewires itself. The more danger humans face, the more capable they become. It is scientifically annoying. Zorthag hates it. Jack stared at the simulation. His chest tightened with a strange mix of dread and pride. So humans are basically stress-powered superheroes. That explains college. Flibbit shivered. Zorthag instituted evolution dampeners to keep humans from getting too resilient. If activated fully, your potential lowers dramatically. He plans to use them when you face him again. Jack rubbed his jaw. He could feel the gears in his mind grinding, not the literal gears Flibbit maintained but the stubborn spirit that had carried him through training. They need humanity to comply with expectations, he murmured. They expect fear. They expect us to break. So what if I push the other direction? What if I make the entire galaxy realize humanity is the worst species to pick a fight with? Flibbit tilted its head. Flibbit likes ambition but would prefer that ambition not result in violent death for both of us. Jack paced, wincing at every movement. The station was full of prisoners from conquered worlds. Warriors and rebels held within armored cells. If humans were the wildcard, then maybe all these other species had something unique too. Something Zorthag underestimated. He turned to Flibbit with a gleam in his eyes. What if we get allies, Flibbit? What if we show them Zorthag isn't invincible? Flibbit blinked repeatedly. Rebels exist. But cooperation between species is rare. Everyone fears punishment. Jack spread his arms. Yeah, but now they have a symbol. Me. The loudmouth idiot who refuses to die on schedule. Flibbit considered this deeply, and then slowly nodded. Flibbit will assist. But first Flibbit must show you something else. Something the Karun fear above all. They moved to another cylinder. Flibbit entered a code and the chamber dimmed. A new simulation displayed. Not humanoid shapes this time. Something glowing inside a human brain. Neural pathways expanding like a starburst. Reflexes increasing. Strength surging. Creativity spiking. A new word appeared. Potential, unknown. Jack stared silently as the simulation showed humans evolving mid-combat, pushing past physical limitations through sheer survival instinct. Flibbit whispered. Humans have no maximum apex. Other species reach peak form. Humans do not. You grow stronger as long as you continue resisting extinction. That is why the Karun want Earth destroyed now before your species spreads. Jack absorbed that like a shockwave. His whole life, being underestimated had been an annoyance. Now it was the source of human power. Humanity was built to overcome anything. And the Karun knew it. Jack clenched his fist. Then we are not losing this fight. A sudden rumble shook the chamber. Red alarms lit up along the walls. Zorthag's voice bellowed through every speaker. Human. You hide and whimper while Earth inches toward oblivion. Face me. Face destiny. Jack flinched as the lights flickered. He knew Zorthag would eventually track them down. He had bought time, not safety. But something in him felt different now. The fear was still there, yes, but it was hardening into something sharper. Determination. Fury. He turned to Flibbit. We are not running anymore. Not from this. But we still need an advantage. Something unexpected. Flibbit nodded and whispered. Flibbit knows where the evolution dampeners are controlled. If you destroy them, your abilities will increase further. Jack grinned. Now that is what I am talking about. Show me the way. Before they could move, metallic scraping echoed above. Zorthag's squad of alien soldiers burst in through a maintenance hatch, snarling and brandishing electrified blades. Jack dropped into a defensive stance with nothing but fists and adrenaline. But something was different. He could feel his instincts accelerating. His mind mapping escape routes and angles instantly. One soldier lunged. Jack stepped aside faster than he expected and slammed his elbow into the creature's jaw. It crumpled. Another came, but Jack ducked and spun, using the soldier's own weight to flip it. Flibbit yelped and zipped behind a console, occasionally shouting suggestions like aim for the eyes or do not get stabbed. Jack fought with a precision he didn't recognize in himself. Not perfect. Not superhuman. But noticeably sharper. The theory was real. Humanity thrived under fire. When the final attacker fell, Jack wiped sweat from his brow with a trembling hand. He met Flibbit's astonished gaze. See. Irrational chaos. Our specialty. Jack and Flibbit navigated deeper into the maze of access corridors, guided by Flibbit's shaky confidence and Jack's stubborn refusal to die. The station now felt less like an alien labyrinth and more like enemy territory waiting to be turned inside out. Jack noticed something new in his movements, a silent upgrade humming in his muscles and reflexes. His mind felt like a strategy machine always running multiple calculations ahead. If evolution was a ladder, he was climbing fast and skipping rungs. But the climb came with a price. His heart hammered like it was trying to break free and go fight aliens on its own. Flibbit stopped in front of a thick vault door that was etched with symbols Jack assumed meant something terrifying and not welcome visitors, please wipe feet. Behind this lies prison sector Delta, Flibbit whispered. Species taken from conquered worlds. Some dangerous. Some furious. Most bored. If your plan includes rebellion, now would be a statistically suboptimal, but emotionally compelling time. Jack pressed his palm against the door. Then let's give the galaxy something to cheer for besides my glorious ability to not get instantly murdered. How do we open it? Flibbit buzzed around the control panel, wires sparking as he hot-wired the locks with anxious precision. The door shuddered and slid open, revealing a massive cell block lined with shimmering force fields. Shapes moved in the dim blue light. Some had fur, others scales, some tentacles, others limbs built for crushing steel. All eyes turned toward Jack like he was either a savior or a new snack option. He raised a hand awkwardly. Hi. I'm Jack. Human. Mahogany hair. Poor impulse control. Zorthag wants to exterminate Earth. I'm planning to politely disagree. A gigantic reptilian warrior with curved horns and 4 arms stepped forward, glaring with war-hardened eyes. Humans are weak. Why follow you into death? Jack met its gaze without flinching. Weak, yeah. Sometimes. But we get back up. I have already smashed Zorthag in the kneecap twice today. I plan to make that a habit. A smaller prisoner with shimmering purple skin and 3 calm eyes spoke next. You fight your captor. You bleed and yet you laugh. You are either brave or stupid. Probably both, Jack replied. But here's the thing. Zorthag doesn't fear you. He doesn't fear me. He fears all of us working together. He conquered you by making you believe you lost. But I am telling you right now, the fight is not over. Not until we're all dust. And I am not dust yet. Silence filled the chamber. Even Flibbit stopped trembling. Then the reptilian warrior gave a slow approving nod. Freedom is better than chains. We will follow the human who insults death. Flibbit blinked rapidly. They will follow you because you annoy mortality. Congratulations, Jack Morgan. Force fields fell away as Flibbit deactivated them. The alien prisoners stepped out with renewed purpose. Jack sized up each one. A telepathic cephalopod with swirling bioluminescence. A silent assassin clad in living armor that rippled like shadows. A robot accountant who clanked forward while muttering calculations about the cost efficiency of revolutions. A towering bird-like creature with razor talons and mood swings sharper than its claws. Jack nodded in satisfaction. Squad assembled. The special kind of weird he needed. The telepathic cephalopod projected a thought directly into Jack's brain. You think loudly for a small creature. Jack pointed a finger. Hey inside voice buddy. Flibbit addressed the group. We must reach Control Core Beta. There we sabotage evolution dampeners. Then humans' potential becomes unchecked. But security will be overwhelming. Jack cracked his knuckles. Good. I need the warm-up. They moved as a unit through the metallic corridors. Jack took the lead because he set the tone by breathing louder than fear. Soon, alarms blared and heavy doors sealed behind them. Karun shock troopers swarmed in with crackling weapons. The rebellion hit them like a tidal wave of unpredictable chaos. The assassin tore through ranks like a shadow with attitude. The reptilian warrior smashed soldiers aside with brutal grace. The robot accountant complained about maintenance expenses while firing laser beams from its fingers. Jack fought with instinct sharper than instinct had any right to be. His footwork flowed, his strikes landed with perfect timing. His thoughts raced so fast he reacted before threats fully formed. Each battle made him stronger. Faster. Humans evolved under pressure. Right now he was almost diamond grade. As they progressed, Jack took note of how the aliens eyed him. Not like prey anymore, but like a leader. It made his chest feel simultaneously heavier and bigger. Responsibility was a tough workout. The group arrived at a glowing circular room where a control console pulsed with green energy. Flibbit zipped to the controls, entering commands with frantic speed. Jack ushered the others outward, forming a defensive perimeter. The bird-like alien suddenly squawked. Zorthag comes. His rage shakes the station. And I am allergic to rage. Jack tightened his grip on a discarded alien baton still crackling with energy. His voice lowered into something iron-hard. Then let's be ready to shake back. Flibbit shrieked as the floor roared and the far wall tore apart like foil under a bulldozer. Zorthag stormed in with a battalion at his heels. His armor glowed with vicious crimson energy. His eyes screamed, I am going to grind your bones into confetti. Human Zorthag thundered. You poison the minds of conquered species. You dare raise rebellion. You corrupt order. Today, chaos dies. Jack stepped forward as if he could swallow fear and turn it into fuel. He pointed his baton at Zorthag and answered with calm fire. Today, Earth fights back. The room exploded into combat. Flibbit worked frantically at the console, while warriors clashed in a storm of alien fury. Jack and Zorthag met in the middle with a collision that rattled the walls. The general's strength had increased, powered by some cruel tech, but Jack dodged with grace that made him look like head trained with a hurricane. Zorthag swung his spear. Jack twisted and struck the dampener control housing with his baton, sparks showering the air. Flibbit screamed in triumph. Evolution dampeners offline. Human potential now classified as nightmare. Jack felt something ignite inside him. Not just strength. Not just speed. Possibility. He met Zorthag's glare with a fire that could burn stars. You shouldn't have called Earth weak, he growled. We take that personally. Zorthag roared, fighting harder. But Jack kept adapting. Kept improving. Every mistake transformed into mastery. The reptilian warrior slammed into Zorthag from behind, giving Jack an opening. He drove his baton against the power nodes on Zorthag's armor. Circuits blew with a surge that rocked the room. The general stumbled. For the first time Jack saw fear flicker across his monstrous face. This battle is not finished, Zorthag shouted. Jack answered while stepping forward, voice like a promise carved in stone. No. It's just beginning. The general teleported away in a flash of red light, abandoning his troops. The remaining soldiers hesitated and then followed their commander, leaving the rebellion breathing hard but victorious. Flibbit announced breathlessly. Cannon charging slowed again. Rebellion spreading across decks. But Zorthag rallies elites at the command spire. He will activate the weapon manually if needed. Jack wiped sweat and blood from his brow. His body hummed with. Jack stood with his newly formed alliance in a moment of stolen calm, staring up toward the command spire looming above them through layers of metal and alien engineering that seemed to pulse with life. The station trembled under the weight of riots and sabotage spreading like fire across its structure. Prisoners were no longer prisoners but warriors reclaiming the right to exist. Every distant blast and roar reminded Jack that chaos had officially joined the fight. Zorthag would be desperate now. Desperation made tyrants dangerous, and if the Karun general reached the planet-killer cannon controls, Earth would be wiped from the universe before Jack could say oops, my bad. Flibbit hovered in front of him, tiny frame buzzing with equal parts terror and pride. Command spire is straight up 4 decks and 2 main lifts, both heavily guarded. And by guarded, Flibbit means statistically impossible to breach. Jack wiped grime from his forehead, feeling sweat sting his eyes. Impossible, he said while rolling his shoulders. I like those odds. Makes winning more satisfying. Just imagine the look on Zorthag's face when we ruin his entire career path. The reptilian warrior clacked its massive claws. The human's arrogance inspires. Let us tear down this spire and the tyrant atop it. Jack nodded, heart pounding with purpose. They moved together through collapsing corridors and flickering lights, fighting pockets of resistance as they advanced deck by deck. Each clash improved Jack further, every dodge more precise, every strike more refined. Human biology rewrote itself like a living combat software update. Jack was aware of the danger in that. Too much evolution too fast, and he might turn into someone or something he did not recognize. But right now, Earth needed all the evolution he had. When the team reached the first lift, they discovered it disabled by emergency lockdown. The platform was cracked in half and dangling uselessly over a shaft that stretched into darkness. Jack leaned over the edge, wind from ventilation turbines rushing upward. Plan B, he muttered. Who wants cardio? They climbed the maintenance ladders lining the shaft. Jack ascended with surprising speed, the climb fueling adrenaline rather than draining it. Below him, the telepathic cephalopod cursed into his mind about primitive ladders, the assassin scaled the wall like living mist, and the robot accountant calculated ladder safety violations. Above, Flibbit reached a hatch and got to work frantically hacking it open before anyone slipped and got a one-way tour of the station's trash incineration system. When they breached the next level, they entered a chamber filled with circular platforms suspended over a bottomless pit, connected by thin beams. Torch lights flickered as dozens of elite Karan soldiers stepped out, armor shielded by crackling energy fields. Zorthag's voice boomed from concealed speakers. Human. You climb toward doom. Lay down and Earth will suffer less. Jack stepped forward onto the first platform. No thanks. I already RSVP'd to your defeat party. The elites attacked with disciplined fury. Jack met the first wave with movements that felt almost prophetic. His muscles moved before his brain finished issuing commands. Every time Zorthag tried to box him into predictable patterns, Jack shattered expectations. He used the narrow beams like balance drills, flipping acrobatically and striking with force he wouldn't have dreamed possible on Earth. The assassin's shadow blades tore through armor seams. The reptilian warrior fought with savage rhythm. The bird-like alien swooped from platform to platform leaving trails of feathers and panicked screams. Even the robot accountant proved terrifyingly efficient, kicking enemies off edges while reciting calculations about orbital drops. As the last elite fell into the abyss below, Jack landed hard, catching himself on one knee. His vision pulsed. His breath came fast and sharp. The evolution was becoming intense now, heating his blood like molten iron. He clenched his teeth. Stay human. Stay you? Flibbit beeped urgently. Your neural readings spike. You risk cognitive destabilization. Jack forced a smirk. So like a sugar rush but scarier. Flibbit did not laugh. They reached the top deck at last. The command spire opened into a vast observation chamber with a panoramic view of Earth hanging like a blue miracle against the stars. The cannon beneath the station glowed with gathering fire, ready to carve doom across that distant home. Zorthag was waiting at the center of the chamber surrounded by pillars of energy. His armor had changed, fused with a generator suit that pulsed with colors of pure rage. His spear crackled like lightning channeled through nightmares. Enough running, Zorthag snarled. You think chaos is strength. You think defiance is evolution. But you are meat wrapped around fear. Jack walked forward alone, lifting the electrified baton. His voice stayed calm and steady. You know what humans are, Zorthag, we are stubborn as hell. We lose. We break. But then we get up. And every time we get up we are harder to knock down. That is why you fear us. Because someday humans won't just fight you. They will surpass you. Zorthag charged with titanic force. Jack sprang to meet him. The shock of impact slammed the air like thunder caged in metal. Energy flared as spear and baton clashed. Zorthag moved like a living siege engine, relentless and brutal. Jack moved like a storm, learning its own strength, adapting mid-strike, using every lesson from every struggle to sharpen his next move. The rebellion forces tried to assist, but a barrier surged around Jack and Zorthag, trapping them inside. This was a duel now. Leader against leader. Planet hanging in the balance. Zorthag swung wide. Jack blocked, skidding backward but recovering with feline balance. Zorthag struck again, hammering him against a pillar. Pain burst through Jack's ribs and the world blurred. But instead of falling apart, his body recalibrated. Pain became fuel. Fatigue became energy. Fear became focus. He ducked under a lethal thrust, slammed the baton into Zorthag's arm joint, then flipped over his shoulder to strike the power node on his back. Sparks exploded. Zorthag roared. You are a freak of evolution, Zorthag spit. A threat to order. Jack wiped blood from his mouth. Thank you? I try. Zorthag activated surge mode, turning into a glowing hurricane of violence. He battered Jack back step by step until Jack hit the glass overlooking Earth below. The glass cracked dangerously. Zorthag's spear pressed toward Jack's heart. Even if you win today, the general breathed, Earth will burn. Others will come. Jack smiled through clenched teeth. Then we will keep evolving. He shifted his weight exactly like an instructor once taught him during a drill, more painful than this moment. Instead of resisting the push, he redirected it. Zorthag stumbled forward, overextended, and Jack drove the baton into the central chest node of the armor. The explosion hurled them both apart. Jack hit the floor hard enough to see stars, not the ones outside. Zorthag fell to his knees, armor flickering, power draining. Jack got up slowly. One shaky breath at a time. Zorthag looked up in disbelief. Impossible. Humans do not win. Jack stood over Zorthag, his chest heaving as adrenaline fought with exhaustion inside him. The energy fields around the command chamber flickered and died, freeing the rest of the rebellion fighters. The panoramic view of space stretched massive and quiet behind them, Earth glowing like a fragile lantern. The countdown still hung in the air, glaring red digits slowly receding as the cannon powered down. The danger was not over, just delayed, but for the first time since he woke up on this station, Jack felt the tide had turned in a direction that did not end with humanity being a cosmic footnote. Flibbit approached cautiously, as if afraid Jack might suddenly explode into pure chaos energy. Bureau readings show stability returning, Flibbit whispered. You prevented catastrophic mutation. Statistically surprising. Also, statistically relieving. Jack forced a laugh. Told you. I thrive under bad ideas. Now let's make sure no one else tries to push that big red extermination button while I am not looking. Zorthag remained on his knees, wheezing, his armor sparking and dripping molten metal. He stared at Jack with disbelief instead of hatred. When he finally spoke, his voice was softer, stripped of the bravado that once defined him. Human, you should have killed me. Ending the threat ensures your safety. Jack shook his head as he tucked the baton into his belt. If I kill you, what changes? No one learns anything. They just get a martyr to rally behind. You stay alive and admit defeat, and that sends a message across the galaxy. You attacked Earth. Earth punched back. The reptilian warrior snorted a laugh. The human is right. Death is easy. Shame is permanent. Zorthag looked away, jaw clenched. He wrestled with a truth he could not crush with strength. Finally, he lowered his head. Karan will stand down. The extermination order will be rescinded. No world deserves the fate we intended. Jack blinked. He had expected resistance, more threats, an epic final round of punches. Surrender was almost jarring. But relief washed through him with the force of an ocean wave. He glanced again at Earth, making sure it was truly safe. Flibbit ensured the cannon fully disengaged and locked into maintenance mode. The countdown vanished. The telepathic cephalopod projected pleasant fireworks into everyone's minds and declared destiny altered. The bird-like alien hugged Jack despite his protests, and almost broke his ribs in celebration. The robot accountant recorded every statistic in precise detail so it could later optimize the cost of galactic revolutions. Jack felt all eyes turned to him. Expecting him to lead. Expecting him to speak. He cleared his throat, feeling suddenly awkward being the center of attention. "Soa," he said, rubbing the back of his neck, "let us not do genocide anymore." "Cool." The alien battalion cheered. It was not the most sophisticated speech, but it got the job done. Flibbit zipped in circles excitedly. Flibbit will go to Earth. Flibbit wants to see where humans grow their unstoppable survival instincts. Flibbit wants to pet puppies. Jack laughed. "I can arrange that. Just do not microwave them or something." As cleanup crews secured the station under new, less murdery management, a transmission crackled across the newly accessed diplomatic channel. "Earth fleet incoming." Jack stiffened as sleek fighter craft and carriers materialized outside the viewport in synchronized formation. They looked beautiful to him, like hope forged from steel. A familiar voice blasted through the calm attention unknown station. "This is Admiral Reyes of the Earth Defense Coalition. You have one of our soldiers. Return him or face consequences." Jack stepped forward and waved like he was hailing a taxi. "Hi, Admiral Reyes, sir. It's Jack. I am alive. Also, there is no need to vaporize anything. Everything is mostly under control." There was a long pause, followed by the Admiral speaking with impossible calmness. "Candidate Morgan, how in the scientific definition of hell did you end up commanding a galactic rebellion?" Jack shrugged. "Improvisation, sir. When the Earth boarding party arrived, they found Zorthag in temporary custody, alien prisoners organizing a liberation council, and Jack accidentally sitting in the Supreme Commander's chair because it was comfortable. Medical teams checked him over while Flibbit nervously hovered nearby holding a sticker that said "World's Toughest Human." Jack had no idea where Flibbit found it, but he accepted the gift proudly. Days passed. Negotiations began between Earth and newly allied species, all built around one shocking revelation: humans were not prey, not pawns, but a force the galaxy had underestimated for too long. Jack gave testimony about the Karun, the cannon, the station's history. Every statement added weight to Earth's growing reputation. Eventually, Jack returned home. The military debriefed him for hours, shocked he survived, even more shocked by the documentation Flibbit provided showing his evolution metrics. They offered him a full place in Special Forces without needing to complete training. But Jack requested something else. He stood before commanding officers and said, "If the galaxy is watching, then we need a voice out there. Someone to show them Earth is more than muscle and stubbornness. I want to help build a bridge." The room went silent, and then slowly heads nodded. Jack became Earth's first official ambassador to the Galactic Alliance that grew from his rebellion. With Flibbit as his diplomatic attaché and chaos prevention specialist. The former prisoners became envoys, guardians, and friends united by a human who refused to stay in his lane. Zorthag, after many stern discussions and an official statement broadcast across 1,000 worlds, started a redemption path that included awkward peace tours where he learned how to apologize without crushing bones by accident. He even visited Earth once. Children climbed his armor like a jungle gym while he tried to maintain dignity and failed repeatedly. One evening, Jack stood on a quiet rooftop back on Earth, looking up at the stars that no longer felt foreign. Flibbit floated beside him, humming contentedly. Flibbit asked softly, "Do humans always choose the hardest path?" Jack smirked. "Yeah. We like earning our wins." "What will you do now?" Flibbit wondered. Jack thought about it. About Earth. About the galaxy now filled with possibility instead of doom. About the future he had to help shape so that no one would call humans weak again. He shrugged lightly. Same thing I always do. Try not to die. Push for progress. Annoy the enemy into surrender. Flibbit beeped in admiration. Humans truly are terrifying. Jack grinned up toward the stars. Good. That means Earth is safe. Humanity had arrived in the galaxy. And the galaxy would never forget the day someone called a Green Beret candidate a pathetic Earth soldier. That had been their last mistake.